Okay. So yeah, I met Sophie last week and got a last minute invitation. So thank you so much for having me. I should say that I'm not a biologist. So Daniel, if you get a little disappointed here, I am a philosopher, and I am interested in privacy in animals because I'm interested in the role, the functions of privacy that has been largely ignored, I think, in human research because of the sort of focus on the law. And so it's very interesting to look at the practices of animals that do not have laws and private property, or a private sphere and a public sphere. So that's like just to sort of give away my my background interest. And so what I hope to discuss with you guys here today, given everybody's knowledge of deception, is in a sense that I have to say I'm not clear what counts as deception, right, in terms of privacy seeking behaviors. And I would be very curious to hear. I'm going to return to this slide later, but this is just sort of a heads up. And so let's jump to the animals. So when I did this research, I came upon this fabulous article from 1977 by Club van Rubenstein. And I reached out to Peter Kopper, who is like now emeritus at Duke. And have you written anything since 1977? And he said, well, no. Well, he has written things, but not on privacy. Specifically, he said he studies hibernation, the ultimate form of privacy, which I think is very funny. Anyway, but I'm going to be using Club van Rubenstein's definition of privacy for the purpose of this talk. And they say privacy is viewed as a regulatory process that serves to selectively control access of external stimulation to oneself and the flow of information to others. So just I just want to sort of highlight that, because a lot of people might think of privacy as sort of just lack of information, right? And also not about like the information flows in both directions. Oops, sorry. And so I share this idea that privacy is about information flow in both directions, and also that there is a sort of agentic component in terms of the sort of ability to choose and control which information is shared. Okay. So first, like sort of one thing that you could of course do to seek privacy is just to seek seclusion. For our purposes, this is not going to be too interesting, except that often actually seclusion involves a level of deception outward, right? To just kind of tell people, I'm in a very important meeting, right? And then you're not, but so to create this space of seclusion, and like so there might be deception on that level, but otherwise I think for our purposes it's more interesting in scenarios where you have a shared habitat, where you have you have to seek privacy in shared space. You can use, like, there's territoriality I will mention, and the use of displays as a form of information management. So those will be our main focus. So first, in terms of like seeking privacy in public, you could say camouflage, right? And this was interesting because Daniel, you mentioned camouflage, right? But here I of course have an example of the prey animal, right, using camouflage. And here actually my question would be, is it different when it's the predator? Right? So so here's an example of a tiger, right, like where they are relying on this sort of dichromal vision of the prey animal, right, so that they they actually appear as green, right, and like falling in with the background in that way. And I would love to hear back, right, is it is privacy, sort of the use of camouflage for privacy in the prey different than in the predator. At the surface level, they're extremely similar because they both rely on evolutionary knowledge of the perceptual abilities of the other, right? So both, if we go back to the other slide here, right? So like the prey animal, this camouflage would not work if the predator, let's say, have like, you know, heat sensing capacities, right? So like this is based on vision. So there has to be so here, of course, it's not knowledge in the individual, but an evolutionary knowledge of the perceptual capabilities of the other. And that's very similar in the predator case. Okay. So another way to seek privacy in public is through a form of, you know, if I anthropomorphize anonymity, right? So here we have a school of fish, but basically the functional purpose is to not be able to be singled out. So when you have, you know, a predator that, you know, goes for a single kill, it's a very effective strategy to be in a group like this. The human analogy, so like where schooling does not sort of per se involve deception, human anonymity often involves, again, a bit of deceptive, like sort of refusal. I often call myself Jason when I'm at Starbucks. It's not very deceptive because people are just confused, but it but you know, it's still like a sort of, I don't really want to give you my name and everybody knows what's going on, right? Like, you know, this is not necessary. Of course, this, you know, with various forms of surveillance, this will be, you know, there will be a question of new deceptive strategies. So I think even this sort of anonymity, you know, involves some level of deception. Okay. So far, just to sum up, what I have been sort of pointing to so far is this, you know, feedback, you could say, from the perceptual other, right? Like that to seek privacy in public, you need to know something about who might be interested in you, what is their interest, what is their perceptual capabilities, but also something about what the context allows you to hide, right? This next part, what I would like to say a bit about is the sort of purposeful minimization or imprecision of the information that you do give. So not just in terms of like sort of blocking others from seeing you at all, but what Klopp von Rubenstein would call information management. So here I have a passage from their article, and so just to sort of overall, what I'm very interested in is that in information management, it is a simultaneous instance of both revealing and concealing, and to in a way get, you know, as strategic or targeted form of information flow. Klopp von Rubenstein highlights how, like, it's sort of, you know, adaptive to actually get the truth about the environment, right? And like that the deceptive or sort of minimization of information can be maladaptive to the other. But I actually think that their own examples also suggest a certain adaptability of this. And a sort of, so this is what I am really interested in, the sort of pro-social element of this deception. So in an example so that they also focus on in terms of, you know, aggressive signaling, right? So, you know, I'll say a bit more about territoriality, but if you are, you know, approaching my territory and I'm actually hurt, you know, it's not really at my advantage that you know that, but like animals have these sort of very stereotypical displays, right? Where you just say aggression, right? So this, you know, graph is basically just suggesting that within this very broad area, you can't really see my exact level of inner inner aggression and like willingness to fight. If I'm very hurt, you can see it. Like if I'm maximally aggressive, maybe you can see something extra, but within this sort of frame, there is no, you know, exact information. So this display is actually in a way of mutual benefit, right? So we might think, oh no, this is like, actually I am a little bit weaker than you, you're attacking, it would be good for you to know my exact level of motivation. No, because you have skin in the game. We're still, even if you win, you're still going to be hurt, right? And you're still going to be weakened by this. So it's actually better for both of us to avoid some fights. And I worry in this sort of maximum surveilled world that we are not avoiding enough fights, I should say, right? So this is just yeah, let me just leave it at that here and we can return to it. So of course, we humans use displays all the time to just not say exactly what's going on for pro-social purposes. None of us want to discuss all these things now, right? We just want to get on with our deception meeting, right? We don't really need to tell the whole truth here, right? Okay, so sorry, I'm just territoriality is to some extent, I think, a way to create different spaces of different kinds of interaction and different kinds of information sharing. I'm not going to say much more about that here. Privacy and personal space is typically a trade-off between other needs, right? And minimizing information is a way to try to optimize various needs simultaneously. So just to summarize this part, in various privacy-seeking behaviors, we try to also create and understand the space we're in, right? And to create different spaces for different purposes, where we minimize and reveal and deceive in various ways. So with that, I'll come back right to my Zuckerberg slide here, right, where he, of course, famously, proclaimed that privacy is dead, and like that, we only need one identity. We don't need this sort of, milling around, and that, we don't need to the capability of creating different images in different directives, basically insinuating that it is sort of deceptive and wrong, right, to use these practices. And I wonder if, like, what the sort of broad, view of deception is in this group, if it's actually, if it's necessarily antisocial, predatorial, right? Or if, like, it's still, you would still call it deception when these sort of information management strategies is used in, neutral or pro-social ways. So with that, thank you all very much for listening. And these are some of the sources that I've